This presentation is brought to you by the Utopian Society Project.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you all. I also want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank my guest speakers as well. They are all 3 hours ahead, and I truly appreciate them staying up late so they can do this presentation. My name is Gabby Fisher. I am the founder of the Utopian Society Project, and among other things, we provide free public safety education. We put together events like this to educate the community. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce my first guest speaker. Her name is Shawnee, and she's going to share her story. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So great to see everybody here. Thank you all for joining us today. Hi, Yana. Nice to see some familiar faces too. I'm just going to get right into things. We only have half an hour for my story, and then on to Gabby's story, Nicole's story about her daughter Gabby. So everyone knows about Gabby Petito's tragic story. Not everyone knows about Baylie and what happened to us. We purposely kept Baylie's story out of the media simply because there was an ongoing investigation for quite some time. We actually tried to press charges for over a year, longer than that, and we weren't able to get things done. But that being said, I will get to that part of her story. First of all, Baylie was just such an incredible person. She was strong, determined, responsible, just everything you could ever want in a daughter. And I say that not just as her mother, but as even an outsider looking into her life. She worked 3 summer jobs. She got 8 extra credits. That summer before going into her sophomore year, she was a neuroscience major. She was determined to be a neurosurgeon. I mean, she just had everything going for her, and she was on her game, and nothing was going to get in her way. I mean, this kid would have graduated and gone on to med school. There is no question in my mind. I think in some ways that makes Baylie's story more interesting because when we hear these tragedies, we often think about kids making really poor decisions, kids not being responsible, maybe kids who are out partying a lot. Baylie hadn't been out that entire summer, not once, not one night. She rarely drank. This is her first weekend back. I had dropped her off at her dorm room. Well, I stayed with her that week to get her settled in her room. And then I left that Thursday night. And when I left, she had said to me, she was in a sorority. She was in Zeta Chi Alpha. And she said to me, there are some parties this weekend, some events. The girls are going out. There's a 21st birthday party. I think I'm going to go do it, Mom. I haven't been out all summer. I would love to go out and socialize with some of my friends. And I know this is the only chance I have because she was going into organic chemistry and some really tough courses. And she said, I will just not have time. I will not be able to go out at all. So this is it. I'm going to go out on Saturday and have a good time. And I was actually happy for her. I actually wanted her to enjoy college life a little bit. It didn't occur to me that she would drink excessively or that she would put herself in a dangerous situation. I mean, that just wasn't my daughter. She didn't do that. It didn't even come up for me. So that Saturday, it started at one of the young men in her sort of peer group who was renting a house with 4 other boys. It was his 21st birthday. He had a pool party. They went over there in the afternoon, her and her roommate, and the drinking began. So underage drinking right away in the afternoon. Baylie and her roommate went back to their dorm room after that, changed and got dressed, had dinner, and decided they would go out with their sorority friends in the evening. At that point, Baylie was not drinking. They were at Red Roads, for anyone who knows University of Miami. That's a university apartment complex that a lot of the kids are at. And they decided a group of them would take a ride share into downtown Miami and go to some of the clubs. And this was 9 o'clock at night. Baylie decided she would join them. Really out of character, but that's what she did. And when she was down in the club in Miami, it was reported by several people, including bartenders, that Baylie had only been drinking water. No one had witnessed her having any alcohol. She had been drinking water from 9 o'clock onward. Um, Later that evening, she decided she had had enough and she wanted to go back to the dorms. She was tired. She needed to go home. No one else wanted to leave. She was texting a friend. He said, I'll meet you outside. He was in the club across the street. Actually, the young man who had had the 21st birthday, who she had been at his house earlier in the day. This gentleman says, I'll meet you outside. We'll go back to the dorms together. She says, great, says to her girlfriends, I'm meeting so and so on the sidewalk. He's going to go with me. We're going back to the room. We're going back to the dorm rooms. I'll be fine. I'll be with him. No problem. She leaves the bar and he stood her up. He didn't come out. So she's on the sidewalk texting him and he doesn't come and says, I've changed my mind. I'm not leaving. So she said, fine, I'm going to go on my own. So she hails a ride share. She uses her app to get a ride share and she's waiting for her ride share to come when a couple of young men approach and they say, hey, we're waiting for our ride share too. We're med students at the U. How's it going? What are you doing? Baylie was always keen to meet new people. She recognized that being friends with med students would be an advantage for her in some way, that she was building connections. I know without a shadow of a doubt that that's what she was thinking. Great, these guys will show me the way. They'll help me out. I'll be making new friends who can give me some guidance on what the next steps will be to get there. So they talk her into joining them in their ride share and she cancels hers. So we have all this in the records. We know that she cancels her ride share. She gets in with them. And lo and behold, they are not med students at the U. These two young men were in their 30s, but they looked young. She didn't know that. And immediately she starts texting her friends saying, I'm in a ride share with some random dudes. They won't give me their real name. They're sketchy guys. I don't know where we're going. And her girlfriends are texting back saying, what do you mean you don't know where you're going? We're lost. They are now going on a loop away from the university and away from campus. At that point, there was no question in my mind that Baylie was afraid, but she continued to maintain control. She was sitting in the middle of the back seat between the two young men. Again, the texting back and forth with her girlfriends. Baylie, you need to get out of that ride share. It's okay. He says we're going to another club. She doesn't know where they're going, she doesn't know their names. They stopped at a convenience store, or so it appears. According to the rideshare driver, he thought that's where they were going. And the young men say to Baylie, look, we need a water. Do you want a water? We're going to get a water. She agrees. Yeah, I'd love a water. She sits in the rideshare in the middle by the one guy. The other one gets out and he goes towards the convenience store door to open it, but he goes upstairs instead. There's a door beside it. Evidently, he has an apartment above the convenience store, and that's where he gets the water. Instead, from his apartment, he brings down a solo cup. He brings down 2 solo cups of water, one for her and one for him. He gives her a specific one with a straw, and she starts drinking it according to the Uber driver. We don't know how much of it she consumed, but at that time she's texting saying, they want me to drink the water. They want me to drink it too much, she says in quotes, too much. She spills the water in the ride share. The driver becomes angry and says, you are responsible for a cleaning charge. Everybody get out. He pulls over and kicks them all out. There's an argument. The guy who booked the ride share agrees to have a $200 charge put on his card for cleaning. When they're out of the vehicle on the sidewalk, the same guy who agrees to this cleaning charge goes into a club and gets her another water. He reaches into a pocket. You can't see what he's doing, but he's adamant to give her another water. At that point, Baylie is hustling away from them. They're in a busy place. They're still downtown Miami. It's a club. She's able to get away. So now she's lost from the guys and she's texting her friends and calling her friends saying, I don't know what's wrong. I need to get back to campus or to the apartment, and I can't use my app. I can't use my phone. Something's wrong. And the girls say, what do you mean? You've used a ride share today probably 8 times. Just use your app. Call for an Uber. You know how to call. And she says, but you don't understand. I can't. I don't know how to call. And then they said, well, use your GPS. I don't know how. Again, I don't know how. Help me. Come get me. And the girls say, we can't come get you. It's 3 o'clock in the morning and it's pouring rain. We will send you a location by text. See if you can click on it and walk to us. You're only 3 miles away. We'll follow you on Friend Finder. We'll follow your location. So that's what they do. They send her the text. It pops up and she says, oh, thank God, I can open it. I think I can follow this. And they said, great, just keep walking. You'll be fine. And with that, she walked into 6 lanes of traffic and was hit. The girls knew something had happened. They were texting saying, Baylie, you haven't responded. Your location isn't moving. Your dot has not moved in 10 minutes. Why aren't you answering? Why aren't you responding? And then they heard the ambulance because she was only about 50 feet away outside of Red Roads, which is where they all were. And she was hit on that final stretch. The girls came out and saw the ambulance and found Baylie on the road, of which her friend then hopped in the ambulance with her and went into the ICU. We were notified. Evidently that night, 2 cruisers were in our driveway. We didn't know that. I lost service on a sailboat. We were on a sailboat off the coast of Maine, 3 miles out, and 3 hours out from shore. And I didn't have a signal that night. I had talked to Baylie earlier on Saturday, and I sent her my last text, I'm going to say around 4 o'clock. And I said to her, please be safe. I love you. I'll talk to you in the morning. I'm losing service. The following morning, sitting on the back of the sailboat having my coffee, I noticed I had some service. I had some bars. So I sent Baylie a text, but it bounced back to me immediately, which I thought was very strange. But I didn't have much time to think because the phone rang immediately and it was Miami-Dade Police Department. I answered the phone. It was Officer Thompson. He said, are you Baylie Grogan's mom? I said, yes. Of course, my heart sunk. He said, the first thing he said was, there were 2 police cars in your driveway last night, but you weren't home. I'm sorry I have to call you. Your daughter is alive, but you need to come to Miami immediately. So my head is spinning because, wait, there were 2 police cars in my driveway. That means something terrible has happened. You were parked there all night and you're sorry you have to call me, but she's alive. Is she okay? Where is she? I'm sorry, I can't tell you anything more. There's been a terrible accident. You need to come to Miami now. Did she break her leg? I can't tell you that. What happened to her? I'm sorry, I can't tell you. Where is she? She's in the hospital. Can I talk to her? I can't tell you. I can't. You're going to have to call the hospital. So I have no idea what's going on. I get the numbers from him. I'm shaking and panicking, and I run down and I get Scott because he's not out of bed yet. And I give him all this information. I'm like, I must have heard him incorrectly. There must be something. There's a mistake. Please call him back. I must not have heard him. He calls the officer back. He gets the same story. He calls the hospital and asks to speak to the surgeon. The surgeon's unavailable because he's operating on my daughter. But we don't know that. We just know he's unavailable. The surgeon will call you when he has time. We're like, what is happening? So finally, my husband calls again. He's like, I need to speak to someone. So he speaks to the head of trauma and he says to him, your daughter's in surgery. She's been in surgery all night. There's been a terrible accident. You need to get here now. What happened? He says, unfortunately, I can't share everything with you until you're here at the bedside. Please get on a plane and come to Miami immediately. We're still going back and forth. Well, did she hit her head? Does she have a broken leg? What kind of surgery? What's going on? Nothing. I'm sorry, I can't tell you. Finally, at the end, my husband says, look, we have no idea how urgent this is. Do we have time to go home and pack a bag? And he says, Put it this way, you may be coming here to say goodbye to your daughter. With that, we knew how critical it was, but we didn't know still the extent of the injuries. We didn't know it was neurosurgery. We didn't know, like, in hindsight, I think how dumb. Of course she hit her head. Of course she's hit by a car. Of course she has brain trauma. But you don't want to believe that. So, 3 hours offshore, turn the boat around. Scott and all the men are on the phone trying to get a plane, trying to get us back there, doing everything we can. Finally, we get a plane out of Portland, Maine. We're racing to the airport. We get on a plane. There's a layover in New York City. We miss the layover. We miss the connecting flight. So now we're stuck in New York and we don't have a plane from New York to Miami. We waited 4 hours in that airport. Finally, we got on a plane. We got to Miami at 11 p.m. So this is 8 a.m. in the morning. I find out 11 p.m. before I see my daughter. 11 p.m., I walked into her room, and I had been a trauma nurse for 4 years. I'm a NICU nurse, but in that career stint of 20 years, I had done 4 years of trauma nursing. And I can't ever remember seeing a patient who looked as critical and as ill, as sick as my daughter did that moment. She was swollen about 4 times the size of her normal body. Her head was enormous. Um, and it was very clear to me at that moment that she was not going to make it. So that's when the next process of things began. Um, at that point, fortunately, they gave us all the information. The surgeon came in, he met us. Are you Bayley's mom? Yes, I am. The whole thing comes out. We're next of kin. Great. Complete transparency, shares every detail, everything that's wrong with her, all of her injuries, all of her brain bleeds. A list, a page this long of everything that is broken. Broken pelvis. She was cut from sternum right to her groin. She's left open, internal bleeding, ruptured bladder. It just goes on and on and on. But the main problem, of course, is her head. She had a C1, C2 fracture. They didn't know she was paralyzed from the neck down at that point. So within, an hour, the neurosurgeon comes back in and he says, we've got a problem. There's a lot of increased pressure. We're going to need to go back in. We need to do a craniotomy at this point. There's just too much pressure on the brain. So all these things are happening really quickly. The following morning at 8 in the morning, the police officer comes in. He wants to speak to us about the accident. She was in a car accident. This is how it happened. I didn't even think of it. My husband is sitting there going, wait a minute, why is she alone at 3 in the morning in downtown Miami crossing the street? And the officer says, we believe there may be foul play involved. And we're like, what do you mean? And he said, there's video surveillance of your daughter crossing the street. This is the city it happens in, he says. We see it all the time. And when someone has been roofied, they typically cross the street in a zombie-like state. Your daughter doesn't look intoxicated. She doesn't walk like a drunk person. She never stumbles. She never trips. She walks in a perfectly straight line. She's marching across the street. But she is unaware of her surroundings. There is no sensory awareness. She can't hear anything. She doesn't see anything. She just keeps walking. The witnesses at the site of the accident also describe her as being in a zombie-like state. They say that they flagged her down. They waved at her. The horns were going. In several lanes of traffic, cars came up and slammed on their brakes right at her. Lights, horns, right at her hip. And she never even turned to look at the vehicle. She just kept walking. The video surveillance is really obvious. But beyond that, we had the text messages. And then we had the video that they found later on of the young men in front of the convenience store at other locations. There's many cameras throughout downtown Miami on the sidewalks, putting the whole puzzle together, and then interviewing the young men later on. This painted a really clear picture of what happened that night. We went back into the room speaking to the surgeon, speaking to staff, saying, were blood and alcohol levels drawn? I mean, clearly they were drawn. You've got a young girl, a trauma patient who comes in as a Jane Doe. You've no idea what's happened to her. Surely you drew this blood. No. In the state of Miami, it is policy that we do not draw blood or alcohol levels on a trauma patient because insurance companies deny the claim. So stunned as a nurse, Canadian nurse, by the way. So I'm like, what are you even talking about? How is this possible? You have to draw the blood. We need to know. We have to press charges. So we go back to the police, which is mind blowing that the police didn't go ahead and order this above and beyond us, but they didn't. And we said, hello, they didn't draw blood and alcohol. Oh, well, we'll order it. So in the meantime, we're asking for it. And they're saying to us, your daughter's 18 and you don't have a HIPAA waiver and you don't have power of attorney. There's no healthcare proxy. If you want guardianship, that's how they word it, you can apply for guardianship of your adult daughter at this point and go in front of a judge. But unfortunately, it might take a couple of months and we need guardianship now. So the ethics committee is involved in your daughter's case. And she may not want you to know if there's drugs and alcohol on board. So we have a bit of a problem. I'm like, no, we don't have a problem. Police are going to order this. And they did. But the problem was Rufinol doesn't stay in the system long enough. And so we got the blood and alcohol levels. There's no Rufinol there. It's 36 hours later. That became the real issue for prosecution for us. There's no smoking gun. There's no evidence that there's any drugs in her system. But we know her water was drugged. At the end of the day, the healthcare proxy, the HIPAA waiver, power of attorney became bigger issues than one can imagine. Everyone thinks next of kin is enough. And in many cases it is rather. So had we come into this scene with Baylie on life support, and she was on life support for a full 2 weeks or longer, and we'd have said, look, looks like things are not going in the right direction. Had the hospital said to us, there's far too much brain damage, you need to consider withdrawing life, we would have had the option to do that. Okay, we could have withdrawn life support at that time. But we were told by the physicians in the trauma unit in Miami that that actually wasn't the case, that Baylie was most likely going to survive this, and that she had a lot of healthy brain matter. She had a lot of healthy brain left. And so for that reason, we didn't withdraw life support at that time. But what we did do is we transferred her to Boston, and we found out in Boston that there was a medical error made in Miami, and Baylie actually had a significant brainstem bleed, which put her at a 1% chance of survival. And in fact, there were no case studies of anyone who had survived this, and life support should have been withdrawn, and it wasn't. By then, she was breathing on her own, and we could not withdraw care without a healthcare proxy power of attorney. And that's where the legal issues came in, and we had to fight for the right to let our daughter die. So many people hear our story and they question the legalities of it. It's the gray zone. We were in a gray zone. We were stuck in a legal gray zone that many people are not. So the long and short, and I'm running out of time here, I only have a few minutes left, but we have created the Baylie's Wish Foundation for a couple of reasons. Number one is to educate people on the need for having a healthcare proxy and a HIPAA waiver at the age of 18. We believe it should be just a standard form that everybody gets, whether it be with your driver's license, whether it be when you graduate school. The only place we can see that there would be a time frame to catch people is with the college admission. So our first goal is to have this as a part of the college paperwork in every college in every state, that it would be free. Sorry, excuse me. And it would just be a part of the admissions documents that every student would fill out and every student would have. The HIPAA waiver has become very important now because although the law has been adjusted for reporting dangerous situations in, say, a depressed, anxious, suicidal teen to the family, there are a lot of providers who haven't kept up with the latest information on the HIPAA laws, and it gets confusing. And we have many parents who have reported to us, look, my son didn't go to school for 5 weeks. He was in his dorm room. He was taking medication. We had no idea. No one at the school called us. My son hung himself. We would have gone and got him. So there are a lot of stories like that. And again, we get the pushback from practitioners who will say, well, that's not true. That's not how HIPAA law works. Okay, clearly everybody's not on the same page and not everybody's reading the right paperwork. So we need to just cover our bases and make sure everybody is protected. The second part of the Baylie's Wish Foundation is prevention. And so what have I learned as a mom after all these years and reflecting on this? You can't even imagine how many nights I've laid awake and replayed this whole story in my head over and over again. Number one is alcohol. So an 18-year-old brain is functioning at a level significantly younger than its chronological age due to the underdeveloped areas of the brain. When they're drinking in a young adult, it's not the same. They're significantly impaired. And so telling students to use the buddy system is not enough, because guess what? Everybody in the buddy system is drinking. You need a sober friend, period. There must be a sober person in the group who can be a decision maker. Otherwise, you have a bunch of 12-year-olds trying to make a choice, trying to make a decision. Number two is the desire to fit in. Again, you're talking about kids with peer pressure. Everybody wants to fit in. She wants to go. She wants to be friends with the sorority girls. She wants to join them. Three, just not capable of risk assessment. Again, we're talking about this underdeveloped brain, this need for control. I can fix this. I can get out of this. I'm okay. In the back of that ride share, Baylie's head was in a place of, I got this. I can do this. I'm going to get out of this ride share. It's okay. It's okay that there's Rufinol in the water. It's okay that I'm stuck between these two sketchy guys and I don't know their names. I'm okay because I'm going to get out of this. That's a mentality that has to change. Social media. People don't think about this, but we now know the anxious generation, right? We have a complete generational rewiring of the brain, and this has linked to poor decision making. These kids live in a fast thinking mentality. So it's not careful planning, thinking, coming to a decision that they really think is a good idea. It's just impulsive, fast, fast, fast. And then getting in trouble. This is a huge one. Most of the kids say they didn't want to call police. They didn't want to call 911 because they didn't want to get in trouble, right? So they don't want their own situation where they've been drinking underage, or some of their peers have been drinking underage, or they're trying to protect Baylie because she was drinking earlier underage. And she's downtown Miami, and maybe there's fake ID. All these different factors come into play. We don't want to get in trouble. So we're going to do everything we can to avoid calling the police. The unknown consequences. And this one's really big because there are so many parents who don't know what the consequences of that college are. So when we talk about consequences with students, it's so important for them to literally walk down the path of getting in trouble and knowing, okay, what happens if I'm caught drinking underage? What happens if I'm caught with fake ID? What's the next step? Will I be kicked out of school? There's a particular case of a young man who was spit on by a homeless man off campus, just outside of campus. And he's 18. He responded to that by grabbing him and throwing him against a brick wall. This is on camera, right? So they have a videotape of him doing that, and the kid gets charged with assault. So the homeless person doesn't get charged with assault, the kid does. The college takes the position of, look, we don't need the reputation. You can either leave campus willingly or we will have to kick you out. Okay, so the family says, okay, no problem. We're going to leave. We'll leave. We'll take him off campus. Just let's not do this assault charge. It's going to ruin this kid's life, right? He's a freshman. They take the kid out of school, but guess what? You can't apply to another college. On the questionnaire, it says, can you get back into the same school you previously left? And if the answer is no, then you can't get into any school. This kid applied to over 200 colleges and universities. He was in Boston, at Boston U, and he can't get into any school now. because he can't get into the one that he left. And so there are glitches in the system. There are things that are in place that even as parents, we don't know are there. We don't know these roadblocks exist. So know what the consequences are. Know what all those situations will result in. And then again, having this discussion ahead of time, literally walk through it. Literally take your kid down that road and they're going to say, that's never going to happen. You're going to say, yeah, well, let's pretend it does. You know, you walk in the room and your friend has overdosed. You walk in the room and whatever is happening. Or you're on the side of the road, or you get a ride share and you're 21 years old and you're doing the right thing. But guess what? That Uber driver doesn't want you in his ride share intoxicated. So he kicks you out on the freeway. And yes, that absolutely happens. So here's a 21-year-old drunk kid on the side of the freeway. What are you going to do? These kids need our help. They need more advice, more guidance, and we need to think through all of these scenarios. So I hope that something I've said has resonated with some of you. Maybe some of you already knew all of this, or maybe some of you learned something new. But that's basically what our foundation is doing. And I didn't talk a lot about domestic violence and the characteristics of that easy target. And I have to take some responsibility for that because I came out of a domestic violence relationship with Baylie. Baylie witnessed that as a child. And it has become pretty clear to me that Bailey's personality mirrored mine. And she was an easy target. She was too nice, too polite, too much of a pleaser, too easygoing. And I'll let Nicole get into the details of what an easy target looks like. But I believe part of the targeting for Baylie, and we also suspect that there was sex trafficking related to this, as there have been many incidents of this exact story and the loop and the drugging with water and then girls taken to the airport, uh, that made Baylie someone that they felt they could take with them. So with that, I know I've gone over my time, but any questions for anyone?
Don't forget your book. I can't do it on my screen because I have a background, but your book.
Thank you. Your book. So this is Baylie on the cover. This was actually taken, this photograph of Baylie, the day that she was hit. She was on the beach that day. Her girlfriend took this. And the back of the boat is actually us on the sailboat. So those are real pictures. It's unfortunate that it does look a bit like a romance. It wasn't intended to do so. There is a dark cloud here, but the true story of Baylie is everything that happened to us, but then everything that happened afterwards, including the book on our nightstand, which was about being in a coma and a 19-year-old girl who was hit by a car. The doctor in the book she was reading on her nightstand became her doctor, and she was the first in a clinical trial for a functional MRI at Boston, at Mass General. So there's a lot of very bizarre things that happened, but the book, it's become an international bestseller and it supports the foundation. So I really, really hope that you will consider purchasing it. We have a code, save 50 for today's viewers. You just go to the Bailey's Wish Foundation website to purchase. We ask that people consider purchasing it from the foundation because 100% of the proceeds go towards the nonprofit. And of course, we have to share proceeds with Amazon.
If you have any questions, please put them on the chat.
From SJ, how can parents sign up for the HIPAA waiver or power of attorney?
So we have those forms on the website as well, for free. You can hire an attorney and get them done. There's also a company called Mama Bear. You can go there and have the forms done through them. But we want them free. We want to be able to provide these for everybody. This shouldn't be something that costs anyone money.
If anyone else has another question, please go ahead and put it on the chat. Thank you so much, Shani. Thank you, ladies. Yes, I don't think we have time to bring everybody on screen, but yeah, before that, because we want to be respectful of Shani's time because she is 3 hours ahead, and then Nicole also, and she's gonna go on next. So thank you. I really appreciate your time, Shani. And anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's all. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, Gabby. And thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing your story as well. And I'll let you go.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shawnee. All right. I guess I'm up.
Yeah.
I love listening to Shawnee talk about Bailey's story. She's so powerful, and I know there's so much work we can do together, and I'm just so glad that she was able to speak about it with all of you tonight. And if you haven't heard her story, I do have the book and I recommend it because it's just such a beautiful story. Just like Gabby, these young women, they lived these beautiful lives, and thankfully they had really great experiences while they were here, but they just didn't deserve what happened to them. So, but sharing them, we hope that helps others and prevents this. But so, yeah, so I'm Nicole, I'm Gabby's mom and president of Gabby Petito Foundation. And I know that a lot of you probably know Gabby's story just because it was so widespread, and you probably watched the Netflix documentary as well. But there's so much more to learn from her story than what was put out on the media or what was put in the documentary. And we're really trying to fight for change as her parents. So I'll back up a little bit. I just want to talk about Gabby a little bit because it's so important to humanize her. She was just such a bright light in this world. She was tenacious from the moment she came into this world. She was ready to go. She walked early. She talked early. Like she just wanted to go, go, go. And she kept us on our toes for a long time. She had two step parents that came into her life very early on. So she has had four parents and lots of grandparents and just a big family to raise her. She became the oldest of six. So she had five siblings, three brothers and two sisters. And she just was like the best big sister ever when she felt like it. There was times when she didn't want to be bothered, but because she was the oldest and she could do whatever she wanted, and she did get in trouble sometimes. She was your normal average teenager, and I like to remind people that Gabby was just a normal kid living as big of a life as she could. And as soon as she turned 18, she was like, "I'm ready to go." She didn't get into the college she wanted to, so she decided to move to North Carolina for a little while. She moved down there with an ex-boyfriend who was fine. They didn't work out, but she stayed in North Carolina for a while and then got homesick, came back home, and then that's when she ran into Brian. Um, we liked Brian. He was very nice. He was very polite. We did not see any red flags from our perspective, but we didn't know what red flags were. As parents, we did not have that education. I'd experienced domestic violence in my past, and I still didn't understand the dynamics of domestic violence. So there were things, and I'll talk about that a little bit, that if we had known what we know now, that were red flags. And we just we just want to teach and we just want to prevent this from happening to others. So, I mean, I could talk about so much. I don't want to talk too much. You know how this story ends. Gabby and Brian got together. They moved very quickly. She moved down to Florida with him. This was COVID happened right after she moved down there. So there was that whole period of time where they were kind of living through COVID. Then his parents moved down there and they all were living together. It was just, um, I don't know. It seemed fine at the time. Everything she was telling me everything was good. There were some moments when I spoke to her that she seemed a little unhappy, but she never gave us the indication that she was in any kind of danger or was being harmed or anything like that. But again, there were things that I know now that I would have looked back and said, okay, that was a red flag. I should have maybe dug a little deeper and asked some more questions. And moving on, they decide to get this van. They had gotten engaged really early on. They got a van and decided to go on this long road trip. And I was excited for her. I thought, oh my gosh, I would love to do that. Like I'm really kind of envious. I should have did that when I was younger because I'm not probably not going to do it now, or I'll have to wait till I'm retired, like someday when I'm older. And we all want to do something someday, and we never do it. But she was gonna do what she wanted to do. She was working, saving her money, and little did I know that Brian was actually taking her money, and supposedly he was the one saving it because, she couldn't do that on her own. And again, I'll get into more of that stuff in a bit. But so they go on the road trip and everything seems fine until August 12th. August 12th was the day of the Moab police stop. And I spoke to her that day. I saw the photograph of her. She had blood smeared on her eye. That was the first time we had any indication that there was any kind of trouble in the relationship, but also we were like, they're together 24 hours a day in a small van. Something happened, an argument happened. We don't know what's going on. However, I was a worried mother and I wanted her to end the trip right then and there. I told her, you're done. The trip is over. You're coming home. And so the police had interacted with them, and she told me that it was way out of hand and it was a bad day. She took all the blame for it. She said she had a rough morning, she was stressed out, and somebody got the wrong idea when they saw them arguing and thought it was worse than it was. And then, the police just said they should spend a night apart. And she made it sound like it was nothing. I believed her, but I still had a little bit of a gut feeling that it was worse than what she was telling me. But I just said, please keep in touch with me. I want to know like where you are, what you're doing at all times. And I was texting with her every day, and things seemed to be fine. And she moved on, and they drove up to Wyoming. And then there was a weird day. It was August 27th. I always want to say September for some reason. It was August 27th, and I got some weird texts from her, which I found out were not her, that she wanted to go off and travel and do this van life alone as a solo female van lifer. And I was like, that doesn't sound safe, or I think that's crazy. I'm like, what's going on? And she said, no, she said, we talked about it and Brian said it was fine. And, I would just pay him for the van. I'm assuming that since he had all the money, that he had to lay out the money for the van, even though he also had Gabby's money. So, it doesn't make any sense. Financial abuse is definitely a big part of what happened here. But I thought it was strange, and I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe she's breaking up with him. I'm just gonna let this happen because I didn't like the incident. So in Moab, whatever it was, and maybe this is a good thing. A few days go by, I get another weird text from her, but I'm not getting a lot of responses. And she just says they don't have any signal, that they're out camping, it's remote, they don't have a signal. So I'm like, okay. Now, at this point, I'm going back to work. I'm a teaching assistant, so I was going back to work, and it was a busy time of year. And I just kept checking my phone, checking her Instagram, where she was posting all her beautiful photos. And I was getting worried. It was probably by September 3rd, 4th when I really started worrying. Her dad was like, yeah, she's probably just, whatever. Maybe she's in a place that doesn't have a signal at all. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just not like her. Like she wouldn't survive without her phone and being able to like text and Snapchat and all that. So I stopped worrying. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let this be. She's 22 years old. A few days go by, still not getting anything, not seeing any social media activity, and I am just panicking at this point. Deep inside, I'm panicking. I'm trying to stay calm, but I'm panicking. And I start making some noise. I tell her dad, nope, I'm worried. Something's going on. I start texting Brian's parents. I text Brian's phone. Nobody's responding to me. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. So then I decided I have to report her missing. All of us were calling all over the country trying to figure out how to report her missing. We knew she was in the Grand Teton area. I was calling Yellowstone because I knew she was headed there. We called Northport Police where she lived, and nobody wanted to report her missing. They were like, well, that they have to do it there, wherever she wasn't seen last. And they're like, no, it's where your place of residence is. And it was just going back and forth and back and forth. So that's another whole issue is reporting adults missing is not easy. So having a plan ahead of time, you don't want this to happen to your family. You don't think it's ever going to happen. But now we teach people that you should have a plan just in case. And there's something called a what to do if I go missing binder. And we're going to have a webinar on that. So, because that's another whole conversation. But thinking about who in your life you could give your information to that's a safe person that you trust, that if God forbid something happened to they would be able to get into your accounts, they would have all your passwords, they would be able to help the police look for you. So we finally get her reported missing. I marched into a precinct in New York, and thankfully, a woman detective was there. She was an angel. And I said, please, I just need a missing persons report. We can't do anything without that report. And she did. And then she showed up at my doorstep later that evening, about 11:30 at night. And she said, I spoke to Northport. They finally went to the house. Brian's been home since September 1st, and now this was September 11th when I finally got to report her missing. So he had been home for 11 days, and there's no Gabby. I went into complete shock. I knew in my heart at that moment that Gabby was gone. I knew he did something to her. I just knew it. I tried to remain calm and keep a little bit of hope. We all wanted to have that hope, but we knew that she was gone. The FBI got involved really quickly. I blasted it out on Facebook, and for somehow this story just blew up. And when someone's missing, you want it to blow up. You want their face everywhere. We just didn't expect it to be as big as it was. It went worldwide. We were talking to Australia, the UK, people in other languages. Like it was just out of control. But I was looking for my daughter, so I wanted that attention. And then 8 days later, they found her on September 19th. The FBI was working with the Teton County Search and Rescue, and they found Gabby. Um, she had been placed there. You could tell it was a staged scene to make it look like either a natural or something. It was staged to look like something other than what it really was. So that was that was the worst day of our lives, getting that phone call. We had just gone through all that trauma of looking for her. And then we knew we were going to get that call at some point, and we did. And it was awful. But at the same time, we're lucky. We're lucky that they found her. We're lucky that we were able to bring her home. And now we work with families who never have that. They never have that. And our heart breaks for them because I can't even imagine what I'd be doing right now if Gabby was still missing. I'd probably be hiking every single national park. I would be looking for her. I don't know where I'd be. But yeah, so that's where we decided we were going to do something. We were going to start a foundation and prevent this from happening to others. But we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't know anything about domestic violence. We didn't know anything about missing persons. We were like completely clueless, but we had this platform. We had Gabby's voice, and we decided we got to do something. We immersed ourselves in learning about domestic violence. I've taken so many classes, so many trainings, DV 101 and strangulation. I just wanted to know because Gabby was killed by strangulation. She was murdered. Um, there was also blunt force trauma. They honestly had a hard time determining what caused the death, but they believe it was from the strangulation. So I wanted to know more about that. I wanted to know how can I help others? And that's what we did. And here we are, 4.5, almost 5 years later. We have a training program for first responders. We work directly with families who have missing loved ones. We work with families who have had missing loved ones, some of them for over 40 years. So anyway, I could talk on and on and on about what happened and then why we started the foundation. But the biggest thing that's in my heart is prevention. I like to go to schools and talk to kids. Tara and I, Gabby's stepmom or bonus mom, we call the step parents bonus parents. We do that a lot, and we get such great feedback. The kids really want to learn this stuff. And I've talked to Shawnee about this. I think we really need to put a program together that teaches a little bit of everything. And you going off to college is the dangerous time. That age between 18 and 24, it is the most dangerous time in a young person's life. Their brain's not fully developed. Their decision-making skills aren't always the greatest, but giving them the tools to spot red flags, to know how to ask for help, these can be life-saving tools. So a lot of the things we teach kids are red flags. We talk to them about red flags. We also talk about green flags because green flags are important too to know what healthy should look like. But we talk about, the extreme jealousy and possessiveness, isolation from family and friends, the monitoring, social media, wanting to know where you are at all times. This is huge with the young kids. Uh, Controlling their money, what they're wearing, making them feel responsible for anything that goes wrong, making it their fault, threatening them, threatening to take your own life if you're their partner, and just because they were going to break up with you, so you're like, no, I'll kill myself if I do that, and that keeps them around because they don't want you to do that. Uh, that's scary, and they love you, and they don't want that either. So it's just the manipulation and the gaslighting and all of that. I can tell you with Gabby, now that we have all her text messages, all her notebooks where she was writing in, and letters she wrote to Brian, she hit every single red flag. Her and Brian, I'm sorry, Brian was the typical abuser that escalated. And if things were spotted sooner, if everybody was educated or somebody in Gabby's life was educated on what this was, this could have been prevented because the domestic violence is a pattern, and patterns are predictable, and then what's predictable is preventable. So for us, the pivotal moment was the Moab police stop because they were supposed to use a lethality assessment. It was not mandated in the state. However, it was recommended every department use it, and they were supposed to use it on domestic violence calls. They chose not to for whatever reason. They probably just never do in their town. It's a small town. They get a lot of transient people running through, but for whatever reason, they decided not to use it. Even if they gave it to Brian, I feel like because you have to connect to the domestic violence agency, even if they gave it to Brian, and I met with Seek Haven, and Seek Haven is the Moab agency, and they said if they spoke to Brian that day, they would have known immediately that he was the abuser and that Gabby was the victim. So the reaction to that is I'm angry about it, but I'm glad we have that video because it's a real lesson. And it's a lesson that is used in trainings. Police officers use it. That video shows, Darvo, deny attack, reverse offender. Gabby took all the blame from the second they opened the window. She said, "I'm sorry." Like that was the first words out of her mouth to the police officer. And when I first saw that video, I was like, well, they're nice. They're being nice to her. That was my first reaction. Now that I know what I know, they can be as nice as they want. They didn't respond properly to that incident. They had a witness that said the gentleman, he called him a gentleman, was slapping the girl. And then they didn't talk to that witness. They talked to a different witness that didn't see that incident. And I could talk, that's like another whole night. I could talk about that Moab body cam footage for hours. I really can, because there's so many when I look at it now, the second she opens her mouth, they should have known. Just her saying, I'm sorry, is an indicator that she's in danger. From the start to the end of that video, she is telling them with her body language that she's in danger. She is telling them with her words, he grabbed my face. They didn't elaborate on that. They didn't take pictures of her injuries. And there was a lot of mistakes made. So again, that's a it's a video I could talk about all night, but I do believe that was the moment. So I do use that video in trainings. My husband uses it, police officers use it, and Brian was that person who love bombed Gabby in the beginning. He bought her a Louis Vuitton headband, bought her a camera. He was driving her all over the place. They actually drove across country when they were still friends. I think they were talking about dating before. In her car, they drove across country because she wanted to go on a road trip. That was like her dream, and she told him that, and then he utilized that to his benefit. If I take her on this road trip, she's going to want to date me, and she's going to want to be with me and trust me, and I will promise her the world. And that's exactly what he did. Then he takes her to Florida. There's the isolation, not just physically, but he started trying to isolate her from her family. Now that I read text messages, the way he talked about us, he was trying to make his family the ones that she needed to trust and not us. She didn't need us in his mind. So isolation, and then all the other things in between. He manipulated her into thinking everything was her fault. Like she says, I'm sorry, I'm so mean in the video. She thought that she was the problem. That's what she believed. That's how her brain chemistry changed. She became the abuser in her own mind. She was the problem and she had to fix him. She felt like she needed to be with him because she could make him better. So, yeah, there's so much. I talk to a lot of parents about the importance of speaking to your kids before they even start dating. Talk to them in elementary school. I mean, this starts preschool, like it starts with friendships and respecting yourself and boundaries and respecting others. And, this has got to start earlier. We need to talk to kids, and it's the only way we're going to bring the numbers of homicides down. My husband likes to also call out men because this isn't going to change until men get involved. Domestic violence is going to stay the way it is. Women will keep screaming from the mountaintops. It's not going to change until men decide it's going to change. And that is something that we work on. And we've seen a lot of men stepping up. We see speakers. These men are fantastic. These men are calling out other men, trying to get men in the community, men in colleges. The University of Wyoming works with a local agency, and they have something called Safe Men. And the Safe Men sign up to be these kind of lookouts for their classmates. And then they can, look at them and, they can walk them across campus, or if they see an incident happening, they can try and prevent it because they're the men in the situation. So that's the only way it's going to be prevented. So it's a really great program. I know Shawnee actually introduced me to this young man who started an app called Third Eye. And I don't know if you want to put that in the chat, Shawnee, because it's 3RD-I. And it's a really great app, especially for college students. And I wish even everybody should have this app. It's not just for college students. I think everybody should have this app. He's building on it. It's getting better and better, and you'll be seeing that soon. I'm pretty sure everybody's going to hear about it because it is a great app. And I know I'm going off on a tangent because I know I don't have a ton of time. So, and I want to be able to let people ask questions. But I mean, yeah, the biggest message that I have for all of you is you can do something. whether that is sharing missing persons flyers or, from your computer, if that's the least you can do, whether it's sharing the information that, somebody like my foundation or Shawnee and Bailey's foundation puts out, sharing that information on social media so other people see it when we're putting up posts that are teaching something. It could be going to your local DV shelter and finding out how can you volunteer? How can you help? It could be calling your legislators and asking what laws are in place for this. I support this law. I've seen this law is trying to be passed. I support that. I think you should, definitely pass it. There's so many different ways you can help, and everybody has a voice. And I just like to tell everyone you're not too small. You can make a difference. And don't think it's too small because it will make a ripple effect. Anything that you do, I know that when we go out and speak, we're never going to see the effects of that in whatever community we went to, but we know it's making a difference. And even if we just help one person, then we've done our job. But continue educating, continue asking the schools to bring education to these kids for safety, especially before they're going off to college. I think that's a really important time. The colleges are not doing that. Between what happened to Baylie and, those kind of situations with sexual assault and, trafficking and all of that on campus, then you have the hazing incidents. I mean, college is not the safest place, and colleges won't tell you that. And they won't tell you how to protect your kids, and they won't tell the kids how to protect themselves. So you have to be the advocate for your own kids. Um, I don't know, Gabby, I can talk all night. So I would love to let people kind of put questions in the chat if they want. And
Yeah, absolutely. If you have questions, please go ahead and put them on the chat, and then Nicole is going to answer them.
what are some tips for teens in foster care? Oh, I looked at this question before. I actually have a volunteer on my foundation that grew up in foster care, and she's an advocate for that, and she is trying to work on specifically helping kids in foster care. So if you want to shoot us an email at gabbypetitofoundation.org, I don't know if Gabby, if you could put that in the chat for me, we can, and I get
Yes,
those
I'll
emails.
add
It
it
goes
in.
directly to me. I can get some information or even link you up if you want some information because she's really, really good at that, and I don't want to answer anything wrong.
If it's helpful, I'm happy to cut my time in half so more people can chat with Nicole and Shawnee and ask some questions. I won't take too long.
No, I don't, what, I'm not even seeing really any questions pop through. If they do, I can wait till the end. So if you want to get started.
Of
Thank
course,
you. Yes.
absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for putting on this powerful webinar. I really appreciate you both inviting me to come in and speak. I turned off my camera for the first half because last time I was with Shawnee, I couldn't contain my emotions. I was just crying the whole time and kept apologizing to her. Then I was like, let me try and keep my emotions in check, but I can't thank you both enough from the bottom of my heart for hopping on here and using such terrible tragedies to do so much good and to help people in the world. For those of you guys who don't know me on the call, my name is Raja Abdulaziz. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Invisware. We make discreet safety devices. They look like jewelry, necklaces, bracelets, keychains, fitness bands, hair scrunchies, and on the back side is a button. If you double click this button 2 times, it immediately alerts your friends, family, and optionally the police to let them know you're in an emergency situation. We also have a powerful app that gives you 24/7 access to trained safety agents who can help you in the event of an emergency through various different techniques, which I'll talk about in a moment. But the sad reality of the situation is I never meant to start a company. It all happened by complete accident. And what makes me the most sad when I join conversations like this is in a different world, you guys could have been having my dad on this call who could have been sharing exactly my story the same way Shawnee and Nicole were sharing Gabby and Bailey's story. It's so devastating and heartbreaking that they don't get to sit here and share their story with their parents, and I get to sit here and share mine. But when I was in college, I was studying engineering, And I had a really scary situation. I was walking back to my car when a group of men started following and harassing me. At first, I kind of rolled my eyes because sadly, that experience happens so often in big cities, especially to women. So it was not the first time it happened. It was not the first time I got catcalled. I kind of rolled my eyes and continued walking, but then the SUV full of guys that was driving by stopped, and one of the four men started to get out. I had my phone on me, but in a situation like that, there's not really much you can do. You can't really look at the person and say, "Hey, please don't hurt me." I'm just going to take out my phone, unlock it, dial 911, tell them where I am, what the emergency is. Oh, and by the way, please don't move us for 7 to 8 minutes while 911 arrives. The other part of the story is I had a ton of friends who were still at the event inside. I didn't want to bother any of them by having them walk me to my car. I honestly thought they were going to judge me because I was parked less than a block away. I thought they were going to say, "Raja, you need to stop watching so many news stories, or you need to stop listening to so much true crime. Are you afraid of walking a block by yourself?" So I never asked anyone to walk with me because I didn't want them to judge me or shame me for feeling aware of my safety. But had I even been able to dial my best friend Ray, he would have been able to get there in a heartbeat and would have been able to get me help. My situation, I ended up running as quickly as I could, and thankfully I got into the car and the guys left me alone. To them, they thought it was funny to harass a young woman. But for the next hour and a half, and honestly, years later, I still have a lot of trauma when I walk alone because I feel so stressed over what if a similar situation would happen. But essentially, for the next hour and a half after that incident, I was shaking uncontrollably because all I could think about is how lucky was I that that was a joke. It could have been my face on that next morning's news channel, or I could have been that true crime podcaster. It could have been my parent on this call. And truly, Nicole, Shawnee, I'm so sorry. It really breaks my heart whenever I come on events like this because it's not fair. And can't thank you guys enough for using these terrible situations to help people. And me and my team are here to support you guys in any way we can. I'll set up follow-up calls. I hope some of you guys joined from the emails and SMS that Invisware sent out about this. But after that incident, I really made it my personal mission to do something about it. I wasn't thinking of creating a company by any means. I actually was just looking for a safety device. And as I was looking, everything was a big, ugly panic button. My grandmother is in her 80s. She says she'd rather fall and not be able to get up than to be seen wearing an ugly device. I don't fault her. Even if I was 100, I wouldn't want to wear those ugly life alerts or those big, horrible buttons. So I was studying engineering at the University of Massachusetts, and I was like, why isn't anyone innovating the personal safety space? Like, why not put it in a keychain that you could throw on your backpack, or a keychain that you can put on your purse, or put it in a hair scrunchie or something? So started working on Invisor as a class project. And what I learned very, very quickly is that 1 out of every 4 college-aged women are sexually assaulted. And I didn't learn that from reading statistics. I learned that from talking to physical classmates as I was sharing the story of why I was working on this class project. So many of the girls in my class kept coming up saying, by the way, I was sexually assaulted, or I was raped, or I was drugged by so and so, and I never reported it because I didn't have any evidence. And if you actually make a product like this, I would buy it. I would tell people about it. So at the time, I was only 21 years old. I was studying engineering. I was about to graduate college, and I had a really high paying job opportunity out in the West Coast with Google, which, as you guys know, is like one of the top tech companies to work for in the country. It would have been a really high paying opportunity. And I decided to decline it to start working on Invisaware full time. At the time, I probably had less than $1,000 in my personal savings account. Everyone thought I lost my mind. They're like, "What do you mean you're going to say no to this really high paying job opportunity to start a company? Do you know how much money it will take to develop this type of technology?" And I remember thinking to myself, I will literally eat ramen noodles for the rest of my life just to be able to figure out how to bring this product to market. And I'll never forget. I usually don't share the story, but I'll share it with you guys since it's a friendly audience. But I remember turning down Google and I came home and there was quite literally an intervention in the kitchen where my mom and dad are like, Raja, have you lost your mind? They're like, nobody says no to Google. Like, you can't turn down this opportunity. They're like, do you understand how much money it will take to develop this technology and make it reliable enough to be able to work? They're like, we didn't come from money. Like, where are you going to get the money to develop this technology? How are you going to like pay for your living expenses? And I just remember saying, I'm like, no, like, I need to do this. Like, what if I actually figure out a way to raise the money that we need to develop this technology? And what if one day it prevents someone from being in a horrible situation, or prevents them from being raped, or prevents them from being sexually assaulted, or being that next news story, and this product saves that person's life? And at the time I was only 21, so everyone thought I was out of my mind. They're like, nobody's going to give you any funding for this. You're a child. And I was like, I will talk to every single investor in the state of Massachusetts until I get a yes, if it's the last thing I do. And probably the first 100 investors I talked to laughed me out of the room. They're like, you're a child. Okay, you had a scary situation. Like, move on. You should have taken that job with Google. Like, you're too young. You'll never be able to figure it out. And then I met one guy, his name was Lewis, who didn't look at me as a child. He looked at me as someone with the potential to prevent a lot of horrible things from happening. And Lewis sadly passed away 2 weeks ago, which is a really horrible part of the story. But he literally was our biggest angel investor, and he funded the company because he wanted people to stay safe. And he really believed that if we could save one person's life, that his donation to develop the technology was going to be all worth it. So because of him, we were able to help so many people feel safe. We get stories on a daily basis of people who've used our virtual bodyguard services to be walked to their car if they're leaving campus. We've had so many situations where people were able to use a product. We made national headlines for saving a young woman's life in a car accident where she was badly injured and her phone wasn't easily accessible. She couldn't reach it. She was able to alert 911. We've thankfully had a lot of success over the last couple of years. We've been featured on every major news station, from Good Morning America to the Today Show, naming us one of the best gifts to get your kid. But really, the reason for all of the success of the company has been thanks to incredible people like Shawnee and Nicole, who are raising awareness of how important it is to protect yourself and protect the people you love. So I can't thank you guys enough for allowing me to share my story and talk about Invisaware on this call. And if there's anything we can do to help support both of you guys, we would be more than honored to. I know we're doing some work with Shawnee to highlight Baylie's story, and every sale that comes in with Shawnee's code directly gets donated back to the nonprofit. And Nicole, I would love to set up something like that in Gabby's honor. And there's way more that we can do just collectively as a community. So I'm so honored to be here today and chat with you guys and to listen to your stories. And I can't commend you enough for turning such horrible tragedies and using them to help people. You are seriously the definition of heroes, and anything we can do to support you, we would love to. But I'll stop talking. I know I was allotted more time, but I would love to give my time back to Nicole and Shawnee, who can answer more questions. And if you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and staying up so late to do this. There were a couple of questions. If you're gonna do this for men and children, if you plan on doing products specifically for men and children.
Absolutely. So men definitely are victims as well. And the statistics surrounding assault and rape are also horrifying for men. It's sadly not talked about as prominently, but we do have a variety of different things. We have black male keychains that are really masculine. We have black fitness bands. We're actually, shouldn't be saying this, my team's going to yell at me, but we have a brand new product launch coming out next week. That's like a smart pepper spray where you can double click your pepper spray to call 911. And we have a line of devices coming out for teens and kids in the next couple of weeks. We also, I saw one of the questions was whether or not we sell drink covers. There's a really, really incredible company called Nightcap. It was started by a young woman named Shira Bernard. It's a scrunchie that covers your drink to prevent it from getting spiked. Oftentimes, similar to Shawnee, people will put drugs in the water or will put drugs in the alcohol. So this is such a great way to protect your drink for young women. We have a great relationship with Shira. I actually saw Shira on the call earlier. We resell her products, a white labeled version of them, and she does a lot of incredible work for the community. I'll get you a pepper spray, Nicole. You'll have to keep me updated on your thoughts. Actually, my team's seriously going to yell at me, but I need to show you guys this. It's very exciting. I'm going to get fired for releasing confidential information, but I'm excited.
I'm excited. I definitely want to. I know we've been trying to talk, so we will definitely get a meeting on the calendar.
I would love that. Thank you. So this is our smart pepper spray. It's an all-in-one tool, essentially. It's designed to be very handy, so you can put it in like this. It's got a flashlight. We tried to make it usable. So if you use it for nothing other than a flashlight while you're leaving campus alone, will give you some peace of mind. But it's got a button right here. If someone's bothering you, you can automatically call 911. You can, of course, spray them if the situation escalates. It's got a personal alarm. So if I pull this over here, it makes a loud sound. I don't have it turned on to spare you guys' ears. And then there's knuckles. So if someone was physically trying to harm me, I could use this for self-defense. You can attach it as a keyring, or you can attach it as a spike, which can give you it's a window breaking tool if you're in a car accident. I was shocked the amount of people that use their invisors in a car accident because their phone gets injected or is not used was the most mind blowing. I like never expected that was going to be one of the biggest use cases. But this spike can sit over here if you want to use it as a keychain. So, but absolutely, I would love to send you one, and we'll send anyone who wants some as well.
Yeah, there was one more question. They wanted to know if they could purchase a battery to replace it.
Yeah, great question. So we did a lot of customer research and talking to people to see what they would want in the products. And the biggest concern from parents was, will my kid actually charge it? And what if the one time they're actually in an emergency situation, it's dead? So what we did is we created a very long lasting battery. So it lasts 3 years without having it to be charged. And then once your battery runs out, we actually send you a free replacement, which is a new program that we implemented. If it was up to me, I honestly would give away all of these devices completely for free. Obviously, I can't afford to, but one day, hopefully, I'll be able to afford to. But we are trying to bring down the cost of the product as much as possible to make them as affordable as possible. But we just implemented that you get a free replacement recently, which was something I was so proud of. So I was so excited about that.
Can I make a comment really quick? First of all, I love this and I want to learn more about your products. You know, I know we don't have all night, but I think thinking about partnering with like foundations like ours and bringing in sponsors and stuff, we can possibly get products to people that couldn't afford them. You know, maybe there's groups of people. So that just popped into my head when you said that. So I think that working together to get this product into as many, especially the younger girls, getting to as many kids as possible, like teenagers and college age students would be amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicole. I really appreciate that. We would love you guys' help, and we would love to help you guys in any way we can as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
And there's a lot of tools out there.
I agree with that, Shawnee. There's There's not a one tool for everybody. There's multiple tools that should be used. I like the idea of wearing beautiful jewelry, having pepper spray, and having an app that, Third Eye also uses this location that it's going to pinpoint you in exactly where you are. So, I mean, there's just so many different things that you could do for safety. And unfortunately, as women, we need it the most. When you walk out to your car at night, we're thinking something differently than a man who's walking to his car. He's thinking about who won the football game, and we're thinking about, am I going to get attacked on my way to the car? So all these safety features are absolutely incredible.
Thank you. And I couldn't agree more. Dylan, the founder of Third Eye, is a really incredible human being. He's actually a good friend of mine. And my team's really going to kill me, but we're looking at potentially doing an investment in Third Eye because of how incredible their technology is and just helping them. It's really about layered protection. And the most important part is being aware. One of the things that I was really touched that Nicole mentioned is she wasn't aware that this was happening because she didn't know what the red flags were. I was also in a relationship that was borderline going down the wrong path. And I had no education on this is not healthy or what this is healthy. Like, I wish I had a Nicole or a Shawnee to come in, and it would have saved me some really sad things that ended up happening. But it's so important to make sure you're going to these seminars, learning from them, using different tools, looking into different safety apps, and so on.
Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate your time. And yeah, we'll let our next speaker go ahead. Carolina, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm Carolina Larson DeMario. I am a self-defense instructor for women and girls, and I'm also a safety educator with Damsel in Defense. And Damsel in Defense, our mission is to equip, empower, and educate women to protect themselves and their families. So today I'm going to show you a few of our products that we have that will keep you safe, but also empower you. So when you carry these products, you walk a little with your head a little higher because you know that you can protect yourself if someone does attack you. So the first thing I'll talk about is our pepper spray. And we have them bedazzled, we have plain as well, but we notice that young ladies, they want the cute ones, right? Otherwise they won't carry them. And pepper spray, they shoot up to 16 feet. And when you use it, you want to go for their eyes, nose, and mouth because you want them to inhale it. You want them to breathe it in because what's going to happen is they're going to be temporarily blind. They could start coughing. They might even throw up. So pepper spray is great for that. The problem with pepper spray, though, is that it only works at a distance. If someone attacks me from the back or on the side and I try to spray them, I'm going to be spraying myself more than the attacker, right? So it's important to have stuff for that up close contact. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard that you should be walking around like this with your keys in between your hands. And this is a really bad idea. So if you use this during impact, it could cause that key to go inside here and cause permanent nerve damage to you. So you don't want to do that. So if you do that, stop doing it. And if you see other people doing it, tell them it's not a good idea. So we have something called a Kubaton that go on your keychain. And so you can use it for punch, makes your punch stronger and protects your hand. And also you can use this part here, go for soft tissue, eyes, throat, pressure points, very effective. And that brings me to one of my favorites. We have the taser stun gun. So flashlight, really bright. I don't know if you can see that, but really bright. So good when you're out walking. And then I'll enable it real quick. I don't know if it goes through via Zoom, but the sound could scare people off. So if you're walking and someone is bothering you or you feel nervous, just that sound alone can make them leave you alone. And if bad guy takes this from you, it disables it. So he can't turn around and use it on you. And when you use it, you want to go for big muscle groups. So like the chest, the abs, the leg muscles, because the bigger the muscles, the better, the more effective it is. It will cause extreme pain, but will also disable the muscle you hit. So this is definitely one of my favorites. And you can also see here how much charge you have left, so you know when to charge it. And then I wanted to show you guys our drink cover. So I know, everyone knows we should never leave our drink unattended, right? But a lot of times, all they can do is say, they can come and distract you. Maybe it's two guys that come up and one starts talking to you while the other guy starts putting something in your drink. So you always want to have a drink cover. If you're not only if you're drinking alcohol, because they can put it in a soda, they can put it in water, right? So always have a drink cover. And we have them in other cute designs as well. Like this. But we have so many more products than that. I just wanted to kind of show you kind of the top favorites that we carry. And yeah, I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Kimberly has a question.
Hi, thank you everyone, and I'm very sorry for your individual losses and very inspiring. I'm 60 years old and yeah, I've been dealing with these issues throughout my life and I'm still learning and I'm very inspired. Just a quick question, I carry some of these items. What do you recommend for the frequency of reviewing, my stun gun and my mace and just making sure things are operating? You tend to forget about it. I have a tactical pen and I think, gosh, where is that? So how often do you recommend we review what we're carrying with us?
Yeah, I mean, so pepper spray expires. So it's usually good for about 2 years. So you definitely always want to keep an eye on like your expiration date to know that it's still good. Because if you use an expired pepper spray, it's not going to shoot as far. It might just kind of come out and kind of drizzle, so it's not going to be effective. And you also want to have your pepper spray, like you have to think of how you're carrying it. You don't want to have any of these products in the bottom of your purse, right? Because during an attack, you're not gonna be able to say, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm just gonna get my pepper spray." Like you really have to have it easy access. So I carry it on my keychain, but we also have something called a breakaway. So if you had this on your purse like that or inside, and then when you're in trouble, you could quickly grab it. So a breakaway keychain is great. And then with the stun gun, do you have a stun gun that you could see how much charge you have left on?
That's a good question. I'm not certain. I'm not even sure how powerful it is. I'm nervous about testing it on myself, but
Yeah, you don't want to test it on yourself. I tested in the air. Um, But yeah, I would check it every 30 days or so. And if you're not, if you can't see how much charge you have left, definitely have it on your calendar to charge it every 30 days. That way it's charged when you need it.
thank you.
You're welcome. And I saw a question too about
Rochelle, yeah.
if
But go ahead. Okay.
if our pepper spray is gel, and we do have both of them. So we carry both the spray and the gel. The gel is listed as a sticky pepper spray, but that's our gel version. And if you're living in a windy city, I would go for the sticky pepper spray. Otherwise, I would go with the regular spray because it is more effective. Because with the gel, it can be wiped off.
Perfect. Rochelle had a question.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I appreciate you all. I am so grateful. I think it must be Raj, that actually how I got on the call tonight, because I just found out about the necklace for my daughter, because I'm always looking for something for her because she's 25. And so I'm always concerned. But I guess I was wanting to find out more about the actual the pepper spray, and I think it was another device that you brought up, the taser.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how powerful is the taser? And you know, how effective would it be to at least just get the person away from you so that way you could, just so I always wonder about it, about the taser. People I went to, yeah, I talked to somebody about a taser and they thought, oh, it might not be as effective. So I just want to make sure that if I give it to my daughter, it would be effective for her.
Yeah. So some people, they're like, when they test it out, right? They kind of go and just, they kind of do it that way, just really quick. That's not going to be very effective. You need to kind of have it, you want the longer you have it on them, the more effective it is. And again, going for big muscle groups is the key. And I always tell people too that, the more muscles they have, the more effective it is because it affects the muscle. So going for you know, the leg muscles or the butt, like those would be my target. And it is effective. Yes, it does go through clothing.
One thing, if I may add, we usually recommend layered protection. If you open up my purse after having a scary situation and having heard a million scary situations, I've got an Invisiwear, I've got pepper spray, I've got one of their tasers in my purse. So it really is good to protect yourself with all kinds of different techniques because, for example, the thing with tasers is they have to be so close to you. So hopefully by then you already clicked your necklace, 911's on the way. And then that alone, like honestly, the sound of the taser is so scary. Sadly, having done so many self-defense classes, one of the things that I've learned is a lot of these perpetrators sadly are not looking to get caught. So you even just having a safety device or a weapon of some sort on you is immediately a deterrent. They're not looking to see, oh, did the damsel in defense, how badly did it shock me? They're like, I don't want to get shocked. I'm gonna go find someone else. So I'm like a huge advocate for layering all of the tools and carrying as many things that you can use in an emergency as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And like I always have that with me on my keys. Always that combo. It's a great combo since that's good for that long distance and this is good for that up close. And then I carry that one with me during those high risk scenarios. Walking my dog at night, parking garages, downtown. And then I think Danielle had a question.
Okay, thank you for your amazing product, first of all, for the Invisiwear. And second of all, I wanted to say I am a rape crisis counselor. I've done this for 20 years and I'm also a survivor. So I got away, but not soon enough. But I wanted to just recommend to everyone, please read The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker. That book saved my life. So every chance I get, it's on my Instagram, it's on my everything. I recommend that man's book all the time. Men, women, everyone read it. It just encourages you to trust your gut and your spidey senses and all of those things that are screaming that there's parts of you that are telling you something's wrong, even when you can't cognitively clearly know what's wrong. Listen to yourself. And, the little things are in that book that are really big things, like never get into a soundproof box, soundproof steel box, an elevator. If you feel uncomfortable, just turn on your heel. Oh, I forgot something and walk away. And just so many things are in that book that actually saved my life when they did have me for hours. So I highly recommend it. And I just wanted to give it a shout out. It's been around for years. The Gift of Fear. Look it up, order it. Great book. Saves people's lives.
If you could share it on the chat, yeah, anything that
I
you
did.
can
I
put,
did.
yeah. And yeah, I have one more question about Invisiwear that somebody put on the chat. They wanted if you could expand more a little bit of how the battery works and the replacement.
Yeah, absolutely. So the battery life is designed to be long lasting, so you don't have to worry about charging it. So you don't have to charge it or anything. The battery lasts for 3 years. And then if you're a paying subscriber for that duration and your battery dies, we send you a brand new device completely free of charge. We're constantly launching different styles and different designs. So we get a lot of people that will buy like a necklace, but they'll also buy a keychain and they'll also buy a bracelet. When your device runs out of battery, you can choose any form factor. We're constantly trying to release new styles and different looks so that way we can keep up with the trend. So 3 years from now, when this one dies, we've got like a purple shiny one that you want. You can choose a purple shiny one for free and so on.
Perfect. And can you expand a little bit more on the subscription? There was also a question about that.
Absolutely. So the way the product works is they come in a bunch of different form factors that range in different price points. So we have some that are like $50 if you want just the charm. We have some that are 99, 149. It's completely up to you. The device, when you get it, you download an application onto your phone. It's called the Invisaware app. This allows you, let me pull it up so you guys can see. This is what the Invisaware app looks like. All of you guys can actually download the Invisaware app right now if you wanted and get a free 1 month subscription to try it risk-free. You don't even need to buy the jewelry. But essentially, you connect your device using Bluetooth to the phone, and we pay trained safety agents at ADT, the home security company, to be available to you 24/7. If you double click this button, they'll immediately call you to check in on you. They'll say, Raja, we received your emergency alert. Are you okay? Can we help you? And I would say, yes, someone's following me. They would immediately notify 911. Or I could say, no, I'm walking alone and I feel uncomfortable because I had a different situation in the past where I was scared. They would say, no problem at all. We'll stay with you on the phone. There's also this video streaming feature, which is my favorite. Essentially, the video streaming feature allows them to be a virtual bodyguard to you, where they will watch over you while you're walking alone at night. If you're literally in a ride share and the driver's making inappropriate comments, you can sit here with the video showing. You can even use the text feature. So you can text them saying, hey, he said this, what do I do? Or I'm on a date and I don't know if this guy's being creepy, similar to what my friend the doctor just said. How do you pronounce your name? Danielle?
Danielle Delaney. Hi.
Danielle. Oh, beautiful
We
name.
communicated a little before. Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. Very great to connect with you again. Thank you for your great comments.
Thank
But
you.
that book, The Gift of Fear, really talks about how a lot of times prior to an emergency happening, people ignore their gut reaction and they ignore their feeling. And those are the most important seconds. So, what we're trying to do with Invisaware is we train our customers. We say, anytime you feel the slightest bit uncomfortable, click your necklace, click video streaming, literally call our trained safety agents. We train them to be extremely nice. Like if I say, I'm not sure if this guy's following me or if he's parked right next to me, they're going to say, no problem at all. Do you want us to immediately notify 911? I would say, no, I'm probably mistaken. He's probably parked next to me. They'll say, no problem. We will stay with you on the phone until you feel safe. If the situation escalates, they're highly trained to intervene. They'll say, back away, leave her alone, don't get any closer. They're very highly trained. And again, that's enough to scare off the attacker from actually trying to hurt you. But should the situation escalate even further, they can immediately notify 911 and so on. But essentially, to have an agent available to 24/7, it's $14.99 a month. I joke, I'm like, that's the cost of my 2 coffees at Starbucks in the month, to be able to have someone live who's trained to handle an emergency, walk me to my car anytime I need it. I tell people, I'm like, seriously, anytime I walk alone as a woman, I literally FaceTime the trained safety agents because I'm like, you can never be too safe. We also train them to be super nice if it is an accident. Like, let's say you call and that person wasn't bothering you and they really were parked next to you. What I personally train the agents to say is we say, we're so happy you're okay. We're so glad you called. This is what we're here for. We're available to you 24/7. Call us anytime you feel slightly uncomfortable because we would rather you call us and say, oh, I overreacted than have you tell us you were attacked and you didn't call for help in time or so on, or have you wait 2 more minutes then where it's too late for us to say back away, leave her alone, and so on. So it's such a great service. Obviously, I am biased, but feel free to try out the free month, and I hope you like it. If you don't like it, email me, please, immediately. We're always looking to improve our services and put out the best solution on the market. So
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, that's great. I heard really great things about your product. Absolutely. And yeah, we'll definitely share the link again with people so they can get more information. And those sounds that you hear are people texting me. They were also asking, this one was for Carolina. They were asking about the different types of pepper spray between gel and the other ones. What's the difference as far as, which one is best, or what they should consider when they choose one?
Yeah, so gel, great for like if you're living in Seattle, Vegas, if you're frequently in windy areas, I would go with the gel sticky pepper spray. But otherwise, I would go with the regular pepper spray because it is more effective.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have any questions or anything like maybe you, Carolina? Is there anything else you like to add?
No, I mean I came with the 4 products. I have lots of other products I could show you guys, but I think for my favorite product I did not bring, which is our children's education line. We have different books, board games, we have a parent guide, and this is for you to teach you to have those conversations with your kids and also to have those conversations more easily. It goes beyond stranger danger because most of the time, 90% of the time, it will be someone they know. And so we teach them about tricky people and what to do if their intuition is telling them something is off. And that's called Safe Hearts. But yeah, I totally recommend that if you are a grandma or a mom.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Anything else you would like to add about InvisaWare before we wrap up?
no, if you came here from the email or SMS we sent, thank you so much for being a part of our community. And if you didn't, it's such a pleasure to meet you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear my story.
Thank you so much. Well, again, I am Gabby Fisher with the Utopian Society Project, and most of what we do is related to public safety. We put together events like this, and that's why we reach out to all these wonderful ladies that shared amazing stories. Before we wrap up, we do finally have time, and I apologize if I had to give time to our presenters, and we didn't have time for people to ask questions directly. But right now we do have time. Is there anybody else that would like to ask a question?
I have a question for Miss Carolina. So
Well,
I'm in the age where I go to bars. Most of our bars have metal detectors. So I wouldn't be able to bring the taser. I wouldn't be able to bring like the pepper spray, anything. It's all clear bag policy. Would there be something in the future that y'all would make that could be safe to bring into a bar with metal detectors, clear bag policy, like be good to protect myself? Because obviously bars are not a great area to be, especially when you're walking out, like Raja said. I just didn't know if there was something as far as going out to the bar for extra safety protection, because like Raja said, it's really hard for like the cops to get there in a timely manner, and by that point, somebody could be gone or whatever. So if I need something right then and there, what could be
Yeah.
something I could use or anything like that?
So we have like it's a little ring. The ring is metal, but it's obviously going to go through the metal detection because it's a ring and has a nice little rose, and then you can twist that rose off, and you have a spiky point that you can use for self-defense. So that would be one. We also have the little alarms that just makes a horrible sound when you enable them. Those you can always bring to stadiums and stuff like that, and sometimes just making that sound is all that's needed for the guy to just like kind of go pick someone else because they don't want to get caught. So yeah, an alarm and maybe that little ring would be something for you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thanks, everyone. Does anybody else wants to add anything or before we close up? All right. I think that's all for the night. Once again, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to be here, especially those that are 3 hours ahead. I truly, truly appreciate you. And well, that's all. Thank you so much for being present, everybody.
This presentation is brought to you by the Utopian Society Project.